think it's time for us to record. Let's get it started. Woo! Welcome, everyone. You're on ThursdAI. We're September 26th. This is our last show in September, I believe. Can you believe September is almost over? And I'm Alex Volkov. I'm an AI evangelist with Weights and Biases. And this is ThursdAI, your highest signal AI recap weekly show live on X, and then is available on every podcast. And hopefully you're listening to this either live or you're driving somewhere. Drive safely, because there's gonna be so much to talk about today. Just an incredible amount of news. This was not a slow week, folks. By no measure, this was not a slow week. And I think let's just jump right into it. We'll add some new speakers. So I just want to say hi to my co-host here, Nistan. Welcome, as we're not replaced by AI podcast host yet. How are you, man?
Oh, I'm great.
And we have LDJ here, just stepped in. What's up, LDJ? Did this tropical storm hit you, or are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay for now, but I think tonight it's gonna hit. Yeah, we'll see.
Stay safe, and everybody who is in the path of the storm, please stay safe as well. And Wolfram, we have you over here at Germany. What's up, man?
Yeah, I'm great. Recovering still from the cold, but it's getting better all the time.
Oh, hopefully you get better. And from just told me before recording that we have some folks in Germany that you've met that are listeners and fans of the show. So shout out to those folks who are listening. I also met quite a few folks. I'm traveling right now. I've been in San Francisco, now in Seattle. I've met quite a few folks who listen to ThursdAI. So if you're that person and you came to me and you gave me a high five, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening and for your feedback. Yeah, this week was busy. We're going to talk about OpenAI releasing advanced voice mode to everyone and how we've played with it and how cool this was. Obviously, advanced voice mode was already in kind of beta testing, and we've had this, and we had this on the show before. If you guys remember, we had Chris Giardina, and then I got access as well. But now everybody has access, and so we have to talk about this. And if you haven't tried voice mode, we will give you maybe some tips and tricks. I definitely know that some folks already jailbroke this to sing. I was not able to get it to sing. Never going to give you up, but I will definitely send you to the right resource once that's happening. OpenAI also had some turmoil. I want to try to keep us at the let's talk about the actual stuff that happened in AI, the releases, the open source. But when big turmoil is in kind of executive in OpenAI moves away, we at least mention this, right? I don't know if we're going to speculate, but we'll at least mention that Mira Murati and a bunch of other, I think 2 other senior execs at OpenAI have left OpenAI this week. Apparently, according to them, unrelated to each other, but definitely something that happened. And OpenAI Dev Day is next Tuesday. And I'm getting live pings. I love the show. I'm getting live pings in DMs of like how you can prompt advanced voice mode to sing. Yeah, please keep those going in comments as well. What else happened with OpenAI? I think that's mostly. Oh no, yeah, of course. OpenAI is about to stop being non-profit and become very pro-profit. That's also something that happened. LJ, go ahead.
Yeah, they also had some improved rate limits for O1 and things like that, but that's pretty minor.
Yeah, they keep improving the limits on the one as well. We also have, this is by the way the TLDR. So we're also going to chat about Gemini releasing 2 new models, 1.5 Pro 02 and 1.5 Flash 002, and those are great. We're going to cover some stats. We're going to talk about what works. I actually had access to 002 for a while, but I did not expect it to be as good on metrics. So we're definitely going to cover this because pretty much every major lab released something this week, something, except Anthropic, who is probably going to release something during a chat today. I feel it. I have the breaking news button ready, and I feel that something's going to happen. So we're going to talk about
I was using it as you were saying that, and it said, "Oh, temporary disruption. Anthropic will be back."
Are you serious?
Yeah, right now. But I refreshed, and then it brought me back to my own session.
So yeah, the Anthropic, again, we don't do rumors that much. We don't give like that much airtime to rumors, but rumors are the Anthropic is about to announce like a funding round, and with this funding round, maybe Opus 3.5, maybe, but maybe something else. Anthropic has been on the roll with like small features in developer features, etc. But nothing from Anthropic this week as an announcement, nothing major. But again, Nistan just tried, and they said we'll be back. So there may be some breaking news. And we have, I think, the highest, I would say, the highest point of this show would be discussion of the stuff that Meta released. We've been waiting for some of the stuff. So Meta gave us a lot to play with and to chat about today. And so we're obviously talking about Meta Llama 3.2. And this comes in multiple variables. And so we're going to cover Meta Llama 2.2, the multimodal, the tiny models, Llama Stack. I also went to Meta Connect itself, and they had more announcements than just the models at Meta Connect. So everything that is the form factor for AI hardware, like the glasses and the new glasses, like all of these things. I would love to just chat about this because there's a lot there. And folks who don't follow as closely, they may not have been noticing some of the stuff there as well. And I think, well, hopefully we'll get some of the folks from LNAI to maybe join us. LNAI, Allen Institute for AI, the folks who you remember from OLMO and OLMO-E. We actually had Nicholas 3 weeks ago talking about OLMO-E, the very open MOE approach. They released, basically the same day, I think, in the morning before Meta Connect, they released MOLMO, which is multimodal OLMO. And that's a very open multimodal LLM that is quite impressive. They released it the same day that Meta is about to release multimodal Llama, and it feels like that was on purpose. And hopefully we'll chat with them, but if not, we'll definitely talk about the differences, because the more the merrier, right? Last week we had Qwen 2 VL72B finally getting released, in addition to Qwen 2.5. And if you guys remember, we talked with Jing Yang about this. And then Qwen VL was released, and for about a week, this was the top open source model, vision model, and now we have at least two more multimodal ones. So that's great. And I think that's pretty much the whole show today in terms of updates. And if we have time, we can go on a little tangent, I think, to talk about Project Orion. I know that this is an AI show, and we're not obviously necessarily in kind of the different XR areas, but I think that it's cool to talk about the stuff that we're getting excited about. And the thing above llamas, about everything else that I got excited about from Meta Connect yesterday was Project Orion. They're fully holographic glasses that I saw. I didn't see through them, so I didn't get to use them. I'm not that famous. Only the very famous people got to use them. But I did get to see him. Steve Bosniak? What's his name? Andrew? I forgot. Boz, basically the guy, the CTO of Meta, was wearing them, and they're real. And many other YouTubers, etc., got to try them. Everybody, it blew their mind. And so maybe we're going to get to talk about this because there's a bunch of AI in there as well. And Zuckerberg claims that glasses are, quote, the perfect form factor for AI. So definitely worth talking about that form factor. So we will talk about the Meta Ray-Bans, which will have AI already and you can buy them. But Orion specifically could be very interesting to talk about. I think that's most of the show today. Unless I'm missing something major or breaking news, I want to also acknowledge that Yam is here. Welcome, Yam. How are you?
Hey, how are you doing? Crazy week.
Crazy week, man. Crazy week. I hope I covered everything that's very important. I'm sure there was like other stuff as well. Anything stand out to you this week that I haven't yet mentioned?
No, I think you mentioned everything. I think I want to say the most notable thing is Meta releasing a new version of Llama, but at the same day, we also got a MOLMO, I think.
MOLMO, yeah.
I think it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is just as big. And I think a couple of days earlier, we got Qwen. If it was this week, I think.
Yep.
We got a new version of Qwen. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Pretty much.
Yeah, big show today. So I think this was our TLDR. I tried to keep it light and not like a crazy pace like folks gave me some feedback. So whoever it was who gave me some feedback, hopefully this works out for you in the better way. So we're going to have a few interviews later down the show. Meanwhile, I think it's time for us to start with open source. And before we get started, again, the folks who are here, there's already around 100 of you or so here. Welcome to ThursdAI. If this is your first time, we're here every week for the last year and a half. We have a bunch of different field experts on stage, and we often have different experts that come and join us. When we talk about vision, we have other folks, and we have a voice, we have other folks. We're trying to bring you the best takes on the AI news from this last week. And weeks like this week, They actually do happen. Like I can count maybe 4 or 5 times that this happened, but they're big and they're fun and the show is fun. And so hopefully you'll enjoy. If this is your first time, please follow the folks on stage as well. And if it's not, if you want to help us out, go into the bottom right corner, leave us a comment of what was standing out to you in terms of AI this week, and also give us a little boost, a little like, a little retweet. I see already 12 people did this. Thank you. And I think it's time for us to actually get started. All right, so I think we're going to get started now with open source. If I remember, if I brought it with myself again, the travel condition, apologize, folks. I think it's this one. Open source AI, let's get it started. Let's get it started. Because this week, the biggest news of this week, the news we've all been waiting for, and they were rumored, is Meta releasing Llama 3.2. And it was rumored. It was rumored because Meta Connect is here. It was rumored because when Meta Llama 3, even before 3.1, 3 launched, Joe Spizak, I think the guy who's in charge, the VP is in charge of Llama overall, he spoke at Fully Connected. That was April or May this year. He spoke at Fully Connected, our Weights and Biases conference, and Nista, hopefully this is better. And he talked about Meta Llama not being multimodal and with low context window. And I had a chance to meet him and ask him, like, hey, when is multimodality coming? And he winked at me. He said, hey, this Meta Llama 3 release was like super fast by Zach. He wanted to get this out the door. We didn't finish training, blah, blah, blah. Multimodality is coming. Multimodality is coming. And then a couple of days ago, Zach on his Instagram posted a picture of holding his kid and reading a book. There was llamas on the book. And he said, and the little llama and all his multimodal friends went to sleep last night. And that was very clearly a sign that multimodal llama is coming. And now it's here. So let's chat about this, folks. Well, we got 2 multimodal models from Meta Llama 3.2, 11 billion parameters and 80 billion parameters. And we did some deep diving into them last night. I also had the chance to participate yesterday at Meta Connect at the Llama breakout room. So we actually talked with some researchers who worked on Llama. They built this on top of an adapter architecture on purpose to be able to train the base language models in addition. And yeah, we finally got multimodal. Anybody had a chance to try this? Yam, LDJ, Wolfram, Nistan. I know that Together AI is giving it out for free. So Meta did launch this together with some partners. I actually don't know if stuff like LM Studio already supports this. I know generally they do. I haven't seen LM Studio support anything like this. Nistan, you had a chance to play around with the vision ones?
No, but LM does support it. It has supported vision for over a year. So it should work there. I was still wondering why the VLM side is so big for the model. That part did not quite make sense to me, given the overall performance that it got, which leads me to believe is some kind of architecture change for what it's going to be able to do later. Or maybe it's to handle video. I am not sure why it needed to be so big on the vision side, but I see LJ has some thoughts on it.
Before we get to LJ, just to clarify what you're talking about, they're talking about an adapter architecture where the vision transformer is trained on top of very regular basic llamas. And they specifically talk about this in terms of they can keep training the basic the text llamas and then add the vision adapter on them. And so from the Llama 8B, we get 11B, and from Llama 70B, we got 80B, which is quite a lot. That's what you're referring to. That's a big jump. That's a lot of tokens just for the vision adapter. LDJ, go ahead. What's your take on this? I know we had a chat a little bit in the Grim Room. What's your take on this after this chat? And had you had a chance to see the video that I sent you?
If you sent me a video, no, I have not had a chance to see that yet. Sorry. But I do have very similar thoughts to Nistan on this I was very confused why it's so big. And at first I thought there must be like something else that those parameters are for, because no way they could be for the vision. But yeah, apparently the 70B model has an extra 20B parameters on top of that specifically for this vision component. But I'm thinking similar to Nistan here that it's probably something for later capabilities, because the benchmarks don't really seem to reflect how much they really put into this like vision component here. And I'm thinking, I do remember in the Llama 3 paper, they did mention a lot of video specific processing that they plan on having in future models, and having the model be able to do that in a way that's actually, quick enough, but also accurate enough to actually understand what's happening within video. And so I think this might just be a precursor to what they plan on doing later.
Yep. You said 20. I just want to connect. I think it's 10 additional parameters, 10 billion additional, right? There's Llama 70B, and now we got 80B in the multimodal.
No, it's 20. It's 90B.
Yeah, it's 90B.
Oh, 11 and 90?
Yeah.
Oh, what? I have 80 over here. No, 11 and 90. You guys are right.
Yep.
That's a lot. Like, I wonder what's there. So let's talk about how they trained them. As far as I saw, they trained on 6 billion image pairs with around 600 million high quality ones, but 6 billion image pairs. And they did a bunch of this data synthetically generated. So they used Llama 405B to generate a bunch of descriptions for those images. And out of those descriptions, they then asked a bunch of other questions about that image specifically. And then they generated like a bunch of text pairs for those images for that specific vision encoder as well. This is how they also did fine tuning with this high quality data set. So out of the 6 billion, they had like around 600 million high quality data sets. They collected images from these sources, images from academic data sets, and they did rejection sampling to refine them. What else do I have here? Synthetic data targeting specific capabilities. So these models, they highlighted specifically the real world understanding, because obviously with the other announcement that we're going to talk about, they are aiming towards multimodality in the real world. For example, being able to wear them on your glasses and have you tell them what you're looking at, have your AI like translate for you what you're looking at. So they really target that kind of reality perception, I think they called it, or recognition, etc. Obviously OCR and tables and all these things are also taken into account there as well. What else do we? Oh, and human created data as well. So they generated specific data for particular skills like probably OCR and table reading as well. So this is the multimodality. Yam, what's your thought on what we got from them? And we'll later talk about MOLMO and how this kind of came out and compares them. What's your thoughts about the multimodality Llama releases?
I think it's interesting to see. I think that it's interesting to see just how fast the iterations are becoming in all the leading teams at the moment. Like you get more and more models faster and faster. Like you get new versions in the span of a couple of weeks between one another, and everything is just accelerating at this point. I don't know. I think it's a notable thing to just notice just how fast things are moving at the moment. If it took, I think, a year to get Llama 3, then you get 3.1, I don't know, 2 months or 3 months later. And now you get like a month, you get a new version. And if you read the whole thing, I think they trained from scratch. And of course, they distilled from the previous models, but they trained from scratch. It's not just the previous model with a little bit more training. So just look how fast things are going at the moment. Yeah, I just want to point this out because it's not just Llama, it's also Quantum is accelerating and DeepSeek is accelerating. The models from all of these teams are coming faster and stronger. So things are accelerating at this point.
Yeah, speaking of Quen, we have Junyang here. Junyang, I would love to hear your comments about this. Obviously, you guys put everything that you guys work on in open weights. Llama, Quen 270 billion, Quen 2 VL, the vision version of Quen, you guys didn't release and now released it like last week. And in the span of a week now, it has 2 contenders. I want to hear your thoughts about what you thought about their evals, and we can talk about their evals a little bit from the vision, stuff like MMU and MMU Pro. Give us your expert opinion on what we got from Meta. Obviously, they spent a lot of effort in this area.
Yeah, just read the announcement of Llama 3.2, and I found that the scores are not that competitive. Yeah, as I expect, or others are already very high for MMU, but for these large size models, it can be even better. I agree with Mr. about their maybe future projects about extending the capabilities for such large models. I am also very surprised that why the model is so large, because 90 billion is, has more, 20 billion more parameters than 70 billion large language models. So I expect more from Llama for the video understanding or something else. Yeah.
On some metrics as well, MMU, which is multimodal test, I think is the main one that folks are talking about. I think they're not beating you, right? Is that correct? I think they're getting like 60 on the MMU.
Yeah, I remember it's around 60, 60.6. I'm not pretty sure.
60.3 on Llama 3.2, 90 billion parameters, yeah.
Yeah, and for Qwen2DL, it's 64.5, and for GPT-4, it's around 69. So there's still a gap in MMU, but it's just a metric. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So interesting. What types of metrics do you look at to quickly assess whether this model will perform on general vision tasks, or do you actually break it down to OCR differently and text differently? What's your go-to metric to see if what they released looks okay?
I think MMU is just a part about general vision and language understanding, because it depends more on the language model as well. More efforts, they can improve it. I think 65, it's okay, but we expect more about the OCRs stuff. I think we will still have some advantages in OCR understanding and document understanding stuff. And besides that, I also pay attention to the grounding stuff, how it performs in grounding, understanding the positions. Yesterday night, I just found more from MOLMO, because MOLMO is more surprising and more impressive for me than,
MOLMO, you mean the small models?
Yeah.
We'll get
talk about it later. Yeah.
All right. LDJ had a comment as well?
Yeah, I was going to mention, I was just looking through the Qwen 2 VL paper right now, and for reference, their vision component adds about 700 million extra parameters. So just so people get a sense of like how big, like how many extra parameters Llama added. Yeah, so it's 20 billion versus even Qwen VL to 70 billion only added like 600 million extra parameters.
We did actually just add a vision encoder, and it's very small. It's a DFN model, which is another VIT. Yeah, we didn't add so many parameters because adding it, we didn't find significant performance improvement.
That's very interesting. Why they had so many extra parameters? Again, this is the question of the day. I'm trying to get the folks from Meta team to join and talk about this. Meta has a whole. They have to go to comms. We have to tell them what we're going to ask. But hopefully next week we're gonna. I've met multiple folks out of there, and hopefully next week we'll be able to ask folks these questions. So definitely a question of why there's so many extra parameters for the multimodal, for the vision encoder, is going to be question number one. To talk about one thing that they've mentioned that they're releasing is also base models for folks to fine tune as well. So not only we got instruct fine tune models, and we did get instruct fine tune models. They did fine tune them on like a bunch of other ones. We did get base models as well, and we're going to be very interested to see what's going on. Question for folks here, maybe Nistan, you have an idea, and maybe we need to get the RC folks in here as well. How does merging work with vision encoders? I wonder if there's anything to get benefit from vision models getting merged together and have them be way better, or is that not a field that we've talked about yet?
No, it's they have layers. People have pruned them. You can do it. You can merge it. But again, so I can't even open the architecture thing. So I actually had to open it from Alpin's Hugging Face page, because he reposted it. And it looks like the model is 100 layers now, but it might also be able to get way larger resolution images. Yeah, the architecture of this is weird. Did they Frankenstein the LLM layers so that it would handle the vision side better and also end up with a smarter thing? I also saw they immediately pushed this out to, if you go on WhatsApp or Instagram, that you can use the you can use the models. You can use Llama 3.2 right now, and I think it's the 90B. So yeah, it's pretty strange what we've done here. I think it's a bit early. We need to take a longer look at this. It might just be that when you scale up to much higher resolutions of images, it just blows up in size. So that could be part of it. But I do see that it is 100 layers now instead of 80. So that could also have quite a bit of a part. Alpin, you had something on that?
Sure. So I didn't play with the model, but I did examine the architecture a bit, and it seems like the vision part is only 2 billion parameters. They've added like 20 layers of cross attention, and it's possible that they froze the entire model just to train the vision stuff. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, that's what they at least talked about, that they want to, the underlying model, the text model, they want to keep training separately. And definitely, this is what, I don't know if they froze it completely, but probably. So we're having these questions. On the performance side, they're very interesting that there's an additional thing here. These models were not like released in Europe, or not accessible in Europe because of some laws. And they said that they're working hard to get them accessible as well. But the other vision models did. But specifically, it looks like neither advanced voice mode that we're going to talk about, nor these models were released in Europe, which is putting pressure, hopefully, on the regulators there in Europe to open up a little bit so that folks can actually ship there. All right, folks. Vision. So multimodal models from Vision from Llama 11B and 90B. We've got them. They are available, like Nistan said, on the chats as well. They did make available the actual better models. I don't know if Vision was already available. I didn't get it neither in Instagram or WhatsApp, but I know that it's coming. Nistan, do you already get the Vision part as well? You can ask questions and take pictures?
No, but I wanted to comment on the text interface, which they said they're going to roll out this week, because that looked really good. And the people that tested it were like, yeah, I can carry forward the conversation. Sorry, the voice interface, not text.
Yeah, we'll definitely get to the voice, because that's also, we didn't get this as a release though. That's not an open weights thing, but there's a national piece of multimodality that they've talked about where they basically added a voice interface. Now, it's not like advanced voice mode. We don't know if it's end-to-end. It doesn't seem to be end-to-end, because right now the multimodality that we've got is only image and text together. There's no audio multimodality like with Omni, but definitely they released another thing that you could talk to these models and they talk back fairly quickly. They had a live demo on the stage. So the next part of this release, we're not done yet. The next part of this release was the small models. I think this could be, I think you said this may be the more interesting, and Jinyang, you said this as well. This may be the more interesting release out of these. The main one is, okay, multimodality, fine. But there's also, they released two tiny models. They released make sure that I'm not missing out here. They released a Llama 3.2 1 billion parameter and 3 billion parameter models. And these are their first models that they've released to run on device. And the purpose of them is to run on device. I saw a crazy stat. Somebody from Grok, Rick Lammers from Grok, shout out. He was sitting by me, and then he just showed me that he ran I think it was 1 billion parameter or something, or 3 billion parameters on Grok, and that thing hit 2,000 tokens per second, 2,100 tokens per second. And those models are immediately available, thanks to our friends, some in the audience, on the studio as well. So I was downloading them as I was sitting and listening to the keynote. So those dropped during the keynote. The community is so fast that while they were still talking about this on stage at the announcement, folks already quantized and dropped them on LM Studio. And because they're so small, you could download them, and very well performant. I didn't go in depth into trying to evaluate the 1 billion parameter model, but I know for a fact that the few questions that I asked it, I got an immediate response on my Mac. It was great to see. Let's talk about the small ones, folks. What do you guys think? So besides the obvious, right? They want to run this on device. What's the purpose of releasing these models, and how? I think there was a conversation about pruning as well. There's a diagram as well. Who wants to take this one and talk about the smaller models, or maybe even try to evaluate them? Anybody ran them? Nistan?
Yeah, I ran them. So I only ran the 3B, and while running it on just 2 CPU cores on the Mac, I was getting 15 tokens per second. And it looks like, look, it's dumb when it comes to answering very specific things, like you want to know something about the Martian atmosphere or stuff, but it does sound great. So it's and when you look at the evals, like it doesn't do that well on like MMLU and stuff on like knowing the facts, but it follows instructions really well, and it speaks. It's the output looks very nice from it, even though it's not smart. So there's something there. Like I really like the styling of it. And it looks like this is what they've done it for. So it can follow instructions, and this makes it a good candidate to summarize stuff from other bigger models. But otherwise, for like what I tested it for code and for stuff, I wouldn't rely on it for like it just had it had good styling for a local model.
And Texas, and also they released an actual chart of the pruning and distillation of 1 billion and 2 billion models as well. They pruned and distilled them from the bigger ones. Yeah, so I think you said they maybe trained the bigger ones from scratch. These ones are results of pruning from the bigger models. They used 405B here as well to do instruct fine-tuning. What's your take on the small ones, Yam?
The smallest ones?
The small ones, the
like
small
one
large
and
language
three,
models.
right?
Yeah, 1 and 3. It's very funny to say
Okay.
small large language models.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny that we are treating 3 billion parameters as a small model today, because it's crazy to think about it.
Yep.
Like 3 years, 3 years later, I don't know. Anyway, it's amazing. I've seen people from Face already running this in the browser. So I think it speaks for itself how useful that thing is.
Yep.
And you can use it on edge devices and browsers. And I don't need to explain it, was already said here, but it's amazing. Seriously.
Absolutely useful. I think they showed a slide, I don't remember if it was in a keynote, with just a bunch of different things that are smart that models can and cannot run on. So they showed like obviously a laptop, and then a GPU, and then a mobile phone, but they also showed like smart thermostat and Raspberry Pi, like all of these things. And they progressively lit up the things that could run a model right now, and they said like around 8 billion parameter model could probably run on the phone slowly, etc. But then they added like a bunch of these different hardware devices and said, we don't actually know what is possible when you run a large language model or like a small large language model on a smart thermostat, but we'll let you, the developers, figure this out. But we're aiming there. This is where we want to go. We want to like enable these models to run like the smallest possible hardware. And definitely looks like they're going there. Like Nista, I think you said the evals for this compared to actual like big models or whatever we get over API, they're not there. Like obviously, if you want actual work done, you will not likely use Meta Llama 3.2 1 billion parameter for that work. But there is a lot of stuff that you could use this for. You could use this for summarization. You could do this for typo checking. You could use, like this model for those stuff. This model is incredible, and it's tiny. 1 billion parameters, like you said, right? Like Zenova and some other folks from WebGPU are already running them like fully in the browser on device. Definitely, we're getting better and better in like pruning and distillation, getting the smarter models. And in this case, 405B was used to create instruction, fine-tuning, and synthetic data prompts for these small models for the pruning. So I think we talked about this multiple times before. Karpathy had this outline of how we need to collectively get to train the bigger models for a long time, and then to be able to distill them down to smaller models. And this is like a 1-2 punch progress happening. From what's your take on the small ones? You ever had a chance to try to play with them, to run them through your tests?
Yeah, so far I used to dismiss smaller models because in a chat scenario, they are just not good enough and you want the best that you can get. But the on-device stuff, like you said, so many devices, and they are making the classes. They showed a new Quest model, a VR headset where they can put it on. So that will be always becoming more and more important as there are more devices. And like you also said, the instruct following, that is the important part. The facts, the model can get them through function calling and just look it up. But it needs to just be smart enough and fast enough to run on the device. So I think we will see more models that are distilled for that use, where they can just get the facts they need, but they just need a basic intelligence to run on the device and then get you the information you need. And especially on classes, you need to have always on vision sometime, and it has to quickly get what you are seeing. So the smaller vision models and stuff. So I think they are aiming at the category of those devices with all these models.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to talk about the devices soon. These models are enabled on day one from Qualcomm and MediaTek hardware as well, and optimized for ARM processors. So definitely they're looking at on-device use cases for those, whether this is an Android phones or whatever. Probably they're not aiming them at iPhones. iPhones will have their own stuff, but definitely 1 billion parameter, 3 billion parameter models, small models. They support context lengths of 128K. And I think on evals, they're comparable to something like an 8 billion parameter model, at least the 3 billion parameter. Oh, I think they compared it to Phi Mini. On MMLU, which is, they even joked about this on stage. They talked about how MMLU, everybody's like trying to squeeze like a few more percentage points on MMLU and how important MMLU really is for real world usage. And they had a joke about this on stage when they brought like different expert folks afterwards. And they said MMLU is kind of like, it's not enough. But this is something that we compare on. Llama 3.2, 3 billion parameters. The larger of the smaller models has 63.4 on MMLU. And compare it to the Gemma 2 billion parameters at 57. And they come close to Llama 3.5, oh sorry, 3.5 mini, which is bigger. I think it's 8 billion parameter model active at 69. So it's inching close to there.
How much was it? Sorry, because
3.5 mini is 69. Llama 3 billion parameters is 63.4.
Oh, okay. So because Quen 2.5 3B is 65 as well, and that was already like pretty good. So it's yeah, the small models.
Let's call this
I don't know
out.
what they
Let's
meant.
call this out. We have Junyang here. Why isn't Quen in this comparison table from Meta? Why, if they're claiming state-of-the-art releases, why wouldn't they compare to Quen? Junyang, what's your take on this? What's your reaction?
I don't know. I don't know the answer. Yeah. Sometimes we're not compared, but it doesn't matter actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. I think their methods are great. Yeah, I really appreciate the method action about the pruning is initialization and also the logic. Yeah, bias stuff. The logic stuff. I think they are doing distillation. This is what we are going to do. I think small language models can be even better. Yeah. Maybe MMLU is just a part of the evaluation, not all of it.
Yeah, definitely. I actually don't think they claimed state of the art at all. I think they just said, hey, here's our attempt at the small models because we need to build them for ourselves in our architecture. So some people come out and say, hey, this is state of the art. I don't think that they actually did this, but they definitely had examples of what they would use it for and how they prune these models as well. We talked about the architecture there. We talked about they used rejection sampling and DPO, their preference optimization for the rounds for the smaller models as well. And again, they aim them for on-device. And on-device means not only your computer, like all of us, we have Macs, or like most of us will try to run them as fast as possible. These folks are looking in the future, and we probably should talk about what this means because they also introduced like actual hardware at this event. The other multimodality, I do want to get to Nistan because I think you alluded to this. Llama can now speak as well. So the same week that we've got advanced voice mode that we're going to cover in a second, we've got an example of Zach actually demoed this live on stage where we didn't get this as a multimodal model. So this is not downloadable like Moshi from Qt AI or like GPT-4o Omni. So it's not like Llama can speak. I think we had also somebody here on stage that talked about their training Llama with speech adapters. This is not it. They built a system. They built a pretty good system, but they built a system that allows you to speak and the model speaks back to you. But this is a very standard pipeline that we've talked about quite a lot. Speech to text on the input from you, and then the model understands text, and model spits out text, and then they do text to speech. But Meta being Meta, the text-to-speech of theirs, unlike OpenAI, who kind of shied away from the Sky Voice from ScarJo, Meta has licensed likenesses and voices from multiple actors like John Cena and Aquafina, and who else was there? There's a few other actors as well. And the live demo was that you could speak to the Llama models. They're deployed everywhere, on Instagram, on Facebook, on WhatsApp, and on Threads? No, I don't know if Threads has this. Basically, in all those properties, and that folks could speak to them, which we know, which is like a natural language conversation is better. The one thing that they highlighted is that at this point they have 500 million active users across those products. 500 million monthly active users. And they also mentioned that they didn't even open this up to their biggest markets yet. So that's insane. I think On Stage said that they're on their way, if not there already yet, to be the biggest kind of AI provider that's being used actively around the world, if not already there, which is quite crazy. Nistan, did you have a chance to see the voice examples? What's your take on this, on the reaction speed and the conversation abilities?
It looked great. And honestly, I don't know if you need to have it end to end. I think you need to have it end to end to do more like emotional stuff, or it to like interpret music and be able to sing. But for most practical uses, I think even with just projectors, as long as you run it locally and you get rid of the extra 30, 40, 50 milliseconds of network latency, I think you'll get very comparable performance. I really like the voices and the options that they're introducing, because let's be honest, most people don't really want to talk to me and Alex in a voice bot. They might want like Gordon Freeman or Kristen Bell or something.
Oh, Kristen Bell was also one of the celebs that they've added the voice. Yeah, I would definitely prefer Kristen Bell's voice over you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I still wanted like a really Soviet voice, just being like, this code is broken, like the whole system, your variables, nothing makes sense.
This I can provide. I can provide
really
this one for sure.
Hear that, tell me. But yeah, this will be fun. I hope they release some of them for us to use.
Yeah, I'm hoping they're going to release like the architecture as well. So let's talk about the other release from theirs, and I think we'll conclude here, and we'll talk about some of the other stuff they talked about on MetaConnect generally, not only AI related. AI related though, they released something called Llama Stack. The first official Llama Stack distributions. They basically said that, hey, so far we've been just releasing models for you, and we're just like throwing them over the wall and like, here, take this to the community, and the community picked up. We know, shout out to the GOAT, Georgi Gerganov from llama.cpp and LM Studio folks and everybody else who's like quantizing and working on making these models very accessible. But developing with these models is not super easy to start with. And so they addressed this with something called Llama Stack, which is their spec and API for API providers and for users, and also distributions as well. So basically, they're kind of like prepackaged distributions for running Llama's own production. Llama Stack consists of a bunch of APIs like inference APIs, memory APIs, agentic systems, evals, post-training, like a bunch of stuff that, first of all, providers can take and then give us better Llama services. So it's not only, so I know we're in the open source area and we all know how to download the GGF file, the GGUF quantized safe tensor file, etc. But many folks who want to run this on production, for example, they still maybe struggle, or they use different providers. And Llama team basically decided with the models to also release something like, here's our set of best practices of how to run these models on production, including stuff like safety. And safety was a big concern for them as well, because while again, in the open source, we may not want that much safety. I know, Wolf, you'll have thoughts about this as well. Our models are our models. Like, this is the best thing about open source to us. Like, we download the weights and we control the weights. And if it's a base model, even better. And if we can jailbreak and fine tune this to be jailbroken, even better. Many companies don't want this. Many companies don't, like, they will be afraid of putting on production a jailbroken Llama or jailbreakable Llama. And we're going to talk about red teaming soon with the Haze Labs folks. So we'll hear their thoughts about this. But many companies want safety. It's as straightforward as this, right? Gemini models have safety filters built into them. OpenAI kind of doesn't let you give you a choice. It's safe by default, or they try to get it. The folks from Llama, they built in Llama Guard as well. By the way, one of the updates that they talked about but maybe didn't get through the Twitter bubble is that the Llama Guard system of models that they have, which is like a small model trained specifically on preventing different things for safety reasons, they reduced that to the 1 billion parameter model, and they pruned it to be around 500 megabytes or so. So small that they showed an example on stage where this Llama Guard runs on user's device as the user types. And so as the user types, they're able to like hide and blur like different bad things that the user may even type before they even get to the server side. So Llama Guard is also an additional thing they released together in the stack. And Llama Stack generally is their kind of set of APIs together that they provide to developers, but also to providers that want to serve Llama, to be able to have a unified ecosystem around this open source release of theirs. So, which is pretty cool. So if you're into this, check out Llama Stack for sure. What's your take on some of these latest thoughts?
Yeah, that's the two chairs I'm sitting on. On the one, when I run the AI for myself, I want to have full control. But of course, when I provide it to production for the company, then I want to lock it down as much as possible. So I see both sides.
Yeah.
So when I'm paying for it as a user, I want to control it. And when I'm offering as a service, I want to be the service provider and in charge. So yeah, Llama Guard is a great way to have the model not locked down as much, but you can implement it in your toolchain. That is a great approach from Meta. I like it.
Yep, absolutely. And the fact they're working on this like very hard is great. And I think they also mentioned specifically safety stuff around the multimodal models as well, which is also super great. I think that's all from Meta. I think we talked about this at length. Any last comments about the Meta Llama stuff before we move on to talk about some of the other stuff that we've got from... Actually, maybe we'll cover Meta later. Let's talk about MOLMO, I think. What do you guys think? Allen Institute for AI, the folks who brought you MOLMO before and then MOLMO E, and we've chatted with them a little bit before, they basically jumped the gun a little bit and they said, let's not have all the fun, even though we're way smaller. Allen Institute previously was known for 100% open on everything, including datasets. If you guys remember our conversation with Nicholas, we've chatted with Nathan as well before from Allen Institute. The highlight of what they're releasing everything, including all the checkpoints of the models. They released the weights and biases logs. Shout out weights and biases. Sorry. Shout out weights and biases. They released the weights and biases checks and loss curves and everything, like all the tables. They released data sets. They released like pretty much everything from the previous models for MOE, and they decided out of the blue to release MOLMO, which is a multimodal MOLMO, which is basically a multimodal open source state-of-the-art, or at least the claim state-of-the-art, we'll have to compare live on stage, that is multimodal. I think it's 72 billion parameters, I believe. And we don't have the folks from LNI here on stage to talk about this, but you can use this. Not only that, they make fun of kind of the meta stuff because they say, hey, this model is available in Europe. You can use this. This one you can use. So our European friends who are like trying to wait for the regulators to deregulate a little bit and let open source models and Meta play on their turf, now they can use this multimodal model for sure. However, this release wasn't like a standard LNAI release. They did not release the datasets for this. I don't know if they have plans to. I wish we had the folks from Allen to chat about this it's a little bit of a different release from what we're used to from them. But the model is very performant. LDJ, go ahead.
So in their paper, I think they did release the data because it says for their VLM, it says for MOLMO 72B and MOLMO 7B VLM, they release open data plus code.
Oh, I read somewhere that maybe not all of this, and some of this was like planned to be released.
Maybe in the paper, they also mentioned the LLM backbone, which it seems like maybe for the 72B, they use like a different base model as the backbone that they built on top of. And then also for the off-the-shelf vision encoder, for those components, seems like aspects of those are closed because they didn't build it from scratch. And so they don't really have control over that. But for the VLM training part, it seems like they're open sourcing all the data encode for that, according to the paper.
Oh, awesome. So that's incredible. Yeah. And the metric, thanks, LJ. On the metrics, just the metrics, they have a interesting approach of releasing metric. They say average score in 11 academic benchmarks. And on this average, they beat GPT-4o, GPT-4v. I think later on they added Meta Llama 3.2 as well. They added QuenVL, 72 billion parameter as well. They're beating this just a little bit on the average. I don't know average of what exactly, but 81.2%. This is their largest model. That's what they get. And the VL is at 79. So like very close. Based on this metric only, QuenVL is number 2. Up until this point was like the best multimodal model. I'm pretty sure like for some areas it's still the best one. Junior, what's your take on MOLMO specifically? Given that you did get compared and they do great work here in Almo. Like we've talked to them. You and Nicholas chatted last time about different MOE approaches as well, I believe. What's your take on MOLMO and their attempt?
Yeah, I was very impressed by the work last night. I was even shocked. Yeah, and they have done so well. And there are a lot of benchmarks they surpassed us and very good performance. And for the model architecture, it is based on Qwen 2 72B and OpenAI Clip. And they just told us it is based on the vision encoder backbone. And they have some new data that are very impressive, and they are going to open source the data maybe 2 months later. I'm not pretty sure, but they did not open source the data right now. Yeah.
Yeah, so at the
And
bottom of the blog, they have the first release really includes a demo, inference code, brief technical report, and the following model weights. So MOLMO E, 1 billion parameters. We've talked about MOLMO E. Oh no, MOLMO E is MOE with MOLMO? That's interesting. Okay. They also have a tiny one that I missed this one. So they have a mixture of XSwift model with 1 billion and 7 billion parameters. That's also multimodal. They have MOLMO 7B O, which is their most open model, and they have D, which is their demo model, and MOLMO 72B, their best model overall. But the following 2 months, yeah, Julian, you're right. They're gonna more detailed version of the technical report, Pixmo family of datasets. So I think those are the datasets that they originally talked about, but they did not release yet. So they're about to release them, but didn't release yet. They call them Pixmo, and additional model weights and checkpoints going forward, and then training and evals code as well, which is they're known for releasing. Julian, I think this is what you also confirming, right? They not yet releasing them, but they will release soon.
yeah. Confirm that they will release it soon. So I think everyone in the multimodal area research, they are waiting for the data. The data are so precious because they have done such a great work. They are so smart. They just think that they ask people to just chat about the images for the annotations. And previously, we would just ask people to do some annotations, and you will find that the annotations are so boring and they lack details. But if they ask them to chat with it, just using your words just to talk with it, and then using ASR to transcribe the dialogue, well, that would be so fantastic annotations for the images and videos. Yeah, they are so smart about this.
Yeah, so they presented the resulting image text response. Thanks, Julian. I'm following up on the blog as you're bringing this up to add some more details to the folks. They presented result image text responses, triplets, to a set of 807 human annotators who gave pairwise preference rankings. Pairwise is basically they choose between two, what they prefer. And then from these pairwise rankings, they calculate the ELO ranking using Bradley Terry, which is standard model. And then this is the same LMSys chatbot arena methodology where, you choose between two and then they calculate the ELO score. And they collected 325,000 pairwise comparisons across 27 models. So very interesting that this is like starting from humans and then they maybe extrapolated this versus what we saw from Meta going a lot of synthetic as well. So shout out to folks in MOLMO. Broadly speaking, Julian, I want to just read this out before we move on. This is the last thing on the blog. Broadly speaking, academic benchmarks results in human evaluation strongly agree, with the exception of Qwen VL, which performs strongly on academic, comparatively underperforms on the human evals. That's very interesting. I don't know if you noticed that comment out at the end. So they say that compares strongly on academics benchmarks, but comparatively underperforms. So there's some daylight between what they tested. Do you happen to see this comment?
Yeah. So we just saw it last night. A little bit embarrassed, but I think it is in our expectation because we have trained for the post training. We have paid a lot of attention to the cost and MLU, but we did not pay enough attention to human preference stuff for doing things similar to DPO or HF stuff like PEO, or we had label more data for it. It is actually in our expectations. So this is what we are going to do. Going to do next to be better at the benchmarks, which means that we have good capabilities, but at the same time, we make the wording of the aligning to the human preference better. This is what we are going to do.
Yeah, makes sense. I don't think you have anything to be embarrassed about. I think you guys released incredible models, and we've tested them out as well. So the last data set thing that we've talked about, just briefly to cap this, they have different available data sets that are going to be different. They call them Pixmo. So Pixmo Cap is a capturing 1.3 million dense image captions. Pixmo Ask Model Anything, data set designed to enable AI models to answer diverse questions about images. 162,000 questions answer pairs. Pixmo points. A dataset includes image capturing data where users were asked to point at objects in images and write description of them. Dataset contains 2.3 million question points pairs from 428,000 images. This is, I think, the last thing that I want to talk about in MolMo. MolMo can point out to things. This is a feature of this multimodal model right now. You can ask it not only to describe what's in the image, you can ask it to actually like, hey, point to something, and then you'll get a little red dot at that place. I think somebody added this to, you pinned this to the top from Skalski, our friend, the vision person. You want to talk about this a little bit? Because I think that's super cool and very useful for different purposes.
Yeah, so I think the model just like outputs a coordinate, and then you can, or when you do the pointing, it outputs a coordinate. And yeah, I'm actually not that sure how exactly it works because I haven't gone through the tutorial. Yeah, we all expect Skalski now to just make another 2-hour YouTube tutorial where
That's true.
he completely blows out of the water every single other product that exists in the category.
He's probably working on this. And the examples that you've added, I'm going to add this to the top page as well. He specifically claims that MolMo counts way better than Llama 3.2 multimodal. And then he has an example with this pointing out approach where detect and count people, and this model is able to detect and count like 40 people in like standing in an area by pointing, like putting this out coordinate in this like red dot as well. I think those are pretty cool capabilities of this model. So shout out to Allen Institute for AI. So this comes from this like Pixmo points data set that once they release, everybody else will be able to also train on. So that's going to be awesome. And definitely a huge shout out to folks from Allen Institute for, yeah, go ahead.
There was one quick thing about the Allen release. The 72B MOLMO, that looked like it, okay, so I saw in the beginning, I was looking at it, I'm like, this has a different intermediate size, but has the exact same vocabulary size and stuff as Qwen 72. And then I looked at but now it actually says on the description that it was based on Qwen 272B, and it uses OpenAI Clip as the backbone. Okay, interesting. So it's a Qwen 272, but with a Clip encoder instead. Okay, yeah, got it.
Alrighty.
Yeah, it's a great model. Yeah.
Hopefully folks can hear me better right now. I got some things that my microphone is coming through very low, and hopefully this is a little bit better. Let me know.
Yeah, it's better.
All right, cool. So Pixmo dataset, we're waiting for this. This will improve other ones. Jing, I think you were very excited about the fact that like they're very smart at collecting this, but also other models will be able to benefit from this, obviously, because like it's going to be open source. So waiting for this in the next few months from Allen Institute for AI. And I just find it very exciting that we're getting so many multimodal models that we know what to do with. From what's your take on this? Do you have a chance to look at MolMo generally, or from the communities that you watch? What's the take on folks? I know it's new. It's been barely a day.
Yeah, it's been a very busy week, so I didn't get a chance to look at it yet. But it's on my list because I'm always happy about multimodality that is available over here in Europe.
Yeah, that's true. This one is available in Europe, and I think that's pretty cool as well. So again, shout out to MolMo folks as well. Anybody else wants to comment before we move on from open source? I think this is all that we had to cover in the open source area. Allen Institute for AI and Llama. Yeah, pretty much it. No, there's another thing. Do you guys know that OpenAI released something in the open? Did you see this? OpenAI this week released a new dataset for MMLU. LDJ, did you see the dataset?
Yeah, it's multilingual LMLU, right?
Yeah, multilingual MMLU. And it's been a while since we've seen like an open release from OpenAI. So I thought it's worth at least mentioning, because there's some other things for OpenAI this week, but this one was worth celebrating in the open source corner for sure. For sure. Wolfram, go ahead.
And I just wanted to point out that there is an open source alternative to the Notebook LLM already, which is PDF to audio. And
that's right,
it uses the proprietary models from OpenAI for the voice generation, but the product or project itself is free, so open source, and you can check it out, and it works really well. I tested it, and it is amazing that you can you have more control. You can choose the speakers, or you can have two women talking instead of a man and a woman, or two men, and you can change it. That is cool.
Wait, can you post the link for this? Because then we can probably just splice away the...
Yeah, I put it in one of the comments in the chat already, but I can do a top-level post. I will post it.
All right, folks. Hopefully you can hear me better now. Thank you, Wolfram. I think this concludes the open source era, and I think it's time for us to reset the space a little bit. We've been here for more than an hour, so let's do a quick reset, and then we're going to talk about some weights and biases stuff that are exciting, and then we're going to dive into big company stuff as well. So let's do a quick little reset, and then we're going to get going for the second hour of ThursdAI. Hello, everybody who's here. You're on the second hour of ThursdAI. We have covered the first hour, as we always do, with open source. We had huge news with open source this week from the release of Meta Llama 3.2 multimodal and small models that run on the device, 1 million, 3 million parameters, and we've covered those as well. We also had a conversation about MOLMO from Allen Institute for AI, and MOLMO is a multimodal OLMO. We've covered OLMO before as well, and now we're getting a very pretty much state-of-the-art multimodal from a smaller company, probably spent way less money as well on training this model, and we're about to get data sets from them as well, which is incredible. So shout out to the OLMO team as well, and thanks to all the speakers and guest hosts who talked about these releases. And now, as we're approaching the second hour of ThursdAI, usually the start between the 2 hours is the weights and biases, this week's buzz corner. This week's buzz is all about everything that happens in weights and biases, the stuff that I learned, the stuff that we do. And this week I was not at home. This weekend we had our hackathon at the weights and biases office, our first hackathon at the weights and biases office. And I just want to shout out the folks who came out and participated in this hackathon. I had a great time running this and meeting tons of hackers from the Silicon Valley area. Our hackathon was specifically focused on LLM as a judge, because obviously we work on a product called Weave as a LLM evaluation framework, and we wanted to come and have folks learn about LLM as a judge as a concept and build and hack around those things specifically. And so we had a hackathon. We had 15 submitted projects at the end. It was really fun. I have my thread that I'll go and add here, that if you guys are interested to see like the winning projects as well, really enjoyed this time. It feels so long ago. It was only Sunday, but it feels so long ago because Meta Connect since then and like a bunch of releases. But you definitely recommend checking out those folks. The prizes were super cool. We gave out Cursor Annual Pro, so like a full year of Cursor Pro to all the winners, not only the first place winners. And the first place winners got Meta Ray-Bans, which we should cover at the end of the show because they're super cool. So now with the hackathon behind us, there are other stuff that we're doing, and I have two of my colleagues here. I have Bharat and Ayush. Welcome, folks. Bharat, Ayush, welcome to the stage. We're supposed to have Meor as well from Cohere. I don't see him. Meor, if you are in the audience, please raise your hand to come up as well. But if not, we'll just proceed with what we have. Because as many of you, and I've talked about this on ThursdAI multiple times, we are not only in the business of like, hey, we're going to build a product and talk about this. We have a full courses area on Weights and Biases. We have the Weights and Biases Academy, 1db.courses or 1b.me/courses. You can get there multiple ways. And we released a new course this week together with Viviate and Cohere. And the two folks who worked really hard on this course are here with me, my colleagues, Bharat and Ayush. First time for both of you, I believe, on stage. I don't believe you've been here before. So Ayush, feel free to introduce yourself super quick, and then Bharat as well. And then we're going to talk about what you guys delivered in this course. I find it super interesting.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Just want to check is my audio good enough?
A little bit low, if you can speak up a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, yeah, I have been here. I have been here as a listener, never as a speaker.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's true. My bad.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Ayush. In this case, we also have Meor coming up as well. Give your introduction for folks who never heard your voice before anyway, please.
Yeah, for sure. I'm Ayush. I have been working at Weights and Biases for over 4 years now. Yeah, I've been involved with a lot of things here on the growth team. Yeah, I've built integrations. Like if you're using OpenAI and Weave, you might use the code that I have written. There are other things I have built. I've been on Kaggle. I have written a lot of blog posts or reports, as we call it, over Weights and Biases. And yeah, now I've been involved with the creation of this course called RAG++, which I'm really excited to talk about.
Absolutely. And we also have Bharat here, and we have Meor who came up as well. So Bharat, do you mind introducing yourself super quick, what you do on our team, and what are some of the stuff that folks maybe have used from you before?
Hey everyone, I'm Bharat. I work in the growth and marketing team at Weights and Biases, and I build integration here. And for a better part of last year, I've been building OneBot, which is our own like RAG developer assistant. And as part of, I try to put all of that learning into building this course, and I think that's what we are here to talk about. So yeah.
And we had a bunch of folks interact with OneBot through our channels in Slack and in Discord as well. So shout out to OneBot family. And we also have Meor. Meor, welcome. Definitely your first time here on stage as well. Please give yourself a small introduction, and then we're going to dive into the work that you guys collectively did here for the Weights and Biases course.
Hello, my name is Meor. I'm a developer advocate at Cohere. So I primarily work on developer relations at Cohere, community, and in particular content. So I've been working on educational and content around LLMs with Cohere.
All right, folks. So Meor, thanks for coming, and thanks for coming as well. What did you guys release this week? Let's start there. This is usually the question that I ask like the guests to come with ThursdAI. Maybe Ayush, what do you want to take this one? What was released? What are we talking about? What is this course? What are you going to teach us? What are people are likely to learn?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, we have been involved in the creation of OneBot, which is our production grade QA bot over our documentation. It has been running for 18 months now. Bharat was mostly on the development side of OneBot, and I was mostly on the evaluation side of OneBot, evaluating LLM systems as hard as we know it. So we like all the experience that we have collected over the span of last 18, 20 months. We kind of compile everything together in this course that we are calling RAG++. So this course is mostly targeted at intermediate to advanced user, where we're covering some of the advanced level concepts like query decomposition, hybrid retrieval. So yeah, like there's a host practical concepts that we have used in OneBot and other applications that we have built over time that we see work really rather like improve the performance of the RAG really well. And yeah, we just discuss to share those with all of you.
That's amazing. I know that many folks talk to us and from the position of like, hey, you write some biases. How do you guys see companies build with these things? And definitely this is, at least in parts, our answer to some of these questions as well. Meor, I'm 100% sure that Cohere also gets some of these questions and a lot of these questions. Could you talk about what you cover in this course?
So we have a small guest section in the course. So we talk about agentic approaches to RAG. So we talk about how to use the tool use features that comes with the Cohere chat API and how you can leverage that to perform agentic kind of workflows when you want to build RAG applications. But beyond that, of course, throughout the whole course, you're going to use Cohere's models for even with a core section of the course. And it also comes with free Cohere credits if you enroll.
Oh, folks, you heard this, right? If you want some Cohere credits, this course is for free, and then you can use Cohere's incredible models. I'm assuming Command R and Command R Plus via APIs, Meor?
Yep.
Which is, we've covered here multiple times, and folks know Cohere, like Command R Plus models, definitely in the audience as well. There's also re-ranking that's built in. There's a bunch of stuff that Cohere provides for you as well. Go ahead, Ayush. Ayush, you had something to say? You're unmuted?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I felt some hang there. But yeah, like we are providing this code credits. You can put it on Cohere's. We have a lot of evaluations that you can run, and the credits will suffice. And you can like we even have a nice assignment at the very end where we ask you to 10% accuracy score on our actual evaluation data set. So that might be a good challenge for you all to try.
Awesome. Brad, could you talk about the area that you cover in the course? I'm very interested to hear like some of the learnings from OneBot and kind of the infrastructure and query enhancement as well as part of it as well. Could you cover some of the stuff that you bring to this course? What are folks likely to learn from you?
So I think with Ayush covering evaluations and in RAG and VV8 covering re-rankers and retrieval, I cover most of the other part of the course, which includes query enhancement, response synthesis, and even putting together and moving from like a basic RAG pipeline to what is an advanced RAG pipeline, and how small things like query enhancement and metadata enrichment and data ingestion and focusing on like, chunking strategies and these things can actually together impact the overall performance of your system. And I'm more excited about also work on the practical collabs. And I feel like that will provide all of the people who take the course a real ability to look at something real and play with it and use it and apply it to their own work, which I think is a bigger takeaway from a course like this than something that just says, hey, here's how you build a POC RAG application, or something like that.
So I want to highlight this,
yeah.
Bharat. I want to highlight this because we've seen demos, and especially when Cursor came out and like all these things, people are like, hey, you can build this in an hour. You can ask Cursor, blah, 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 blah. This course is the culmination of learning after more than a year, I believe, of running production RAG and optimizing this and doing query enhancements. You even have a case study in there for query enhancements for OneBot as well. Could you highlight one result of a query enhancement or one learning that you have to give folks a little bit of something to get their interest in? What's one learning that you can share with us here about optimization or enhancing something? Bharat, you still with us? Dropped off?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah. I said we made a lot of mistakes building OneBot, but we also learned from those mistakes and put all of that into the course. And specifically to highlight, for instance, the query enhancement part, all of the things that we added in OneBot was this thing called intent detection. And without doing any other change to the system, that brought OneBot's accuracy up from around 55% to 72%. And it was a very small change. It involved very basic NLP classification techniques and things like that. But I think, so we talk about this in the course, and we also talk about how adding keyword enhancement and query expansion and subquery enhancement and techniques like this in the query enhancement module. And all of these techniques are actually, they are these 20% effort that are actually lead to 80% results. Applying the Pareto principle and being able to get the best out of your RAG system, that's something that we put in as a best practice into the course, I would say.
Amazing. I'm so excited. I just want to cover some of the like different chapters of this course as well. We have data ingestion there. Query enhancement is what Barak just covered. Advanced retrieval and re-ranking. This is the Weaviate part, correct, folks? Weaviate also participates in the course, Barat?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, this is covered by Weaviate.
So we basically got you covered from the evaluation perspective to Cohere and advanced tool use perspective to Weaviate, obviously the vector database. They know a thing or two about chunking and retrieval. What is an agentic RAG, I think, as well. Do you want to add anything on top of what we already said to gonna get folks excited about this course before we move on?
Yeah, for sure. I just want to say that the retrieval section that we have for our course is kind of half covered by us and half by BBA. And it's also where Mayor is talking about giving access of tools to a RAG pipeline. So that's like a good hefty part of our course, which is chapter 5. And before that, yeah, we are covering all the stuff like evaluation and how to think about evaluation-driven development and data chunking strategies and doing query decomposition, etc. But yeah, like chapter 5 is we kind of coordinate all the learnings, the quality of the retrieval except given because we cannot do a lot on the LLM side, but we can do a lot because retrieval is traditionally it's grounded in a lot of traditional knowledge that we have. So yeah, we can draw from that and it can improve the quality there. So yeah, overall the course is jam-packed with a lot of interesting stuff.
So I know from the sites, like from Slacks and everything, how hard you guys worked lately on this course. And I just want to give you a huge shout out on releasing this finally. And now it's available. I have Ryan here. Do you want to comment on this as well? This is where you came up, just to make sure.
I did.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody,
Thanks for having me up. Number one, I'm not being paid to say this. I work at Intel. But I am taking the course. I started it today, and y'all, it's really good. If you really want to dig into RAG from folks who have been running it production, it's really good. So just wanted to give you props. I'm not being paid to say that. So thanks for releasing the course, y'all. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan, for coming up and giving us the first live feedback on the stage with the speakers. That's incredible. All right, folks. So with that, I want to say a huge props to Bharat, Ayush. Meor, any last things from your side? You guys are very kindly providing credits to this course. So people, not only is the course for free, using the techniques you learned for the course and running the evals is also, thanks to you guys, is also free. So definitely feel free to shout out the folks on your team and kind of the work that you did. Anything else you want to add on at the end there?
Oh, I just want to mention the amount of amazing stuff that Ayush and Bharat has put together in this course. I saw them working through this course and packaging them in this nice and very user-friendly way, and all these different nuggets and learnings that they have put into the course is amazing to see what they have created. Yeah, I'm really excited to go through this course myself.
Awesome. So thank you guys for coming up. Thank you for working on this. We expect that many folks will sign up. I know the pre-registration was crazy, and this likely already is one of the more popular courses that we have. Thanks for coming up. I know it's late for you guys as well, tuning in, and more thanks for coming in as well. Folks, definitely give this a shout out, a try, and let us know in comments if you tried it, like Ryan, and if you learned anything. That would be super dope. So you can use many of these like models that we talk about here in an actual production way. And now that you have different Llama models, you can try them as well and see if they work better than the Command Plus or not. Probably not for those specific use cases. All right, folks, thanks for coming up. We're moving on to our big companies and APIs area, where we did have some releases as well. And just to kind of give you a sense of what's coming up next, we'll still have an interview with folks from Haze Labs about red teaming and jailbreaks. So feel free to stick around with us if you're already on stage. If you're listening to this and you're on the live show, give Bharat, Ayush, and Noor a follow. And now let's talk about big companies and APIs, because we have two major news here, and we're going to get started with the interview in like maybe 10 minutes, but we have two major news here. First of all, Google updates Gemini. This was also a big release from Google. They've been updating Gemini quite a lot. So Gemini 1.5 Pro was experimental, I think, in beginning of August, and that was great. They also updated it to 2 million tokens at some point. This 002 release, Gemini 1.5 Pro, 1.5 Flash got to 002, got the nomenclature 002. I actually don't know why they named it that. It's kind of confusing, 1.5 002, but this is what they named it. And the bump in performance is quite impressive. I don't know if you guys had a chance to see this. MMLU Pro, the Pro version, the harder version of MMLU for Gemini 1.5 Pro from May, the one that we got released on Google I/O, was at 69%, and now it's at 75%. 75% bump, basically on the same model. They just kept training this. And the thing that I love the most is that Gemini 1.5 Flash is 67%. Flash, the super fast model, the super cheap model. If you guys remember, Flash is like ridiculously cheap as well. I believe it's, I think it's 15 cents per million tokens. Something like this. Flash is like one of the like crazy cheap models as well. It performance on MMLU Pro, the harder version of MMLU, from May at 59 to 67% at September. Flash from September. This is kind of talking about what Yam said before, and we talked about how fast this is moving. Gemini Flash, the 15 cent, I believe it's 50 cent for a million tokens. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Is now 67% MMLU Pro, coming very close to the level of what Gemini Pro was back in May. So September to May, we have 4 or 5 months. The smaller, distilled, super quick, super fast version is now almost there as their biggest flagship version from May. I think that's absolutely bonkers. Not only that, they reduced pricing for both these models by a significant amount. 1.5 Pro is more than 50% cheaper now, up to 128 tokens. So Google is playing like with all the chips inside. Google is tapping into their like massive TPU infrastructure and just saying, hey, not only like we're keep improving models, we need developers to come over here. We need developers to like believe. I know many folks still don't really like using Gemini for some reason. I know there's a whole thing with Vertex API that it's not as easy and you have to sign up a bunch of stuff, but AI Studio is easy. You just go there and click and you have an API key and you get 50% reduction in price for September than previously for the 1.5 Pro up to 128K. And that's not all. They also twice as faster on the outputs and 3 times lower latency, right? So we got together in one thing, we've got a price reduction for 50%. We got twice faster on outputs and 3 times faster in latency. And we got performance boost from Google. So that's definitely nothing small to scoff at. Comments from folks. I have 3 hands in the air, and I think you was first. Go ahead.
So I've been systematically testing 1.5 using Weave. So thank you very much. And it's just not as good as 4.0 like most of the time. And I feel torn because it feels like Google really is throwing all of their capital behind this to make this as cheap as they possibly can.
Yep.
And they're trying to win us with that. And I'm wondering if it's slowly going to work or if we're still going to have to use the models that end up performing better.
Hey, it works for me. I will tell you, and I think I mentioned this to you before. Since ever, I'm trying to use AI as much as possible in my kind of workflow to make sure that what I'm doing on Thursday is not taking me like all the whole day and deliver the edited version faster. Never once, up until Gemini, the version from August, never once was I able to use any type of prompt that sounds like me, even in the drafts. Gemini, the August version, and listen, we talked about this, was the first one that kind of came close. And this 0021 also did some work on the last Thursday, and now I can actually say this. So some of the drafts that I've helped write, I obviously rewrite them afterwards. Obviously, it doesn't get everything, but Gemini actually does well. Now, for developers, I don't know. I don't know how many folks are actually putting Gemini in production. I'm sure that there's like people with like millions of credits in Vertex in the Google GCP that they basically then turn into kind of this. I'm sure they're happy with these updates. From what's your take on the Gemini updates and releases?
Oh, there was another feature that you didn't mention, I think, because they made the safety filters optional. And that was what actually kept me from using it with my Home Assistant setup. So I have a prompt, and most filter the messages you send, and the model prompt itself, the system prompt, is not filtered, but they filtered everything. And in my Amy prompt, there were some swear words and stuff because she's a bit sassy. So it didn't work at all. I was just saying hi. I said hi, and the system said I can't respond or something like that. And now it's possible, so I can use it as well. And I think it was a good move to make it optional and if you put it in production, you can define the filters as you want. And there's not a preset, which is very sensitive. So that was a great change and made it usable for me and some of my use cases.
Awesome. And yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I think LDJ had his hand up, but it doesn't allow hands up on the desktop app.
Oh, LDJ, go ahead.
Hey, the thing that was most impressive to me is the 2 benchmark scores of, in GPQA, it's roughly in the middle of the GPT-4o score and the O1 score. And for the math benchmark, the benchmark literally called, math in capital letters, it actually slightly surpasses the O1 preview score. Yeah, I think that's pretty big, and it'll be interesting to see how well it could do advanced mathematics and actual real-world use and things like that.
Yeah, they improved on that. They improved on a bunch of stuff. They also released a Flash 8B version. Now, I don't know why it's interesting to them to say 8B, given that they're not releasing this version, but there's a different version of Flash in there that they specifically say this is an 8 billion parameter version, and that also performs very well as well. So just a cover of the kind of crazy release from Gemini that kind of went under the radar because immediately after OpenAI released advanced voice mode, which we're going to cover at the end here. So on math and hidden math, those models perform a 20% improvement. On 7% improvements on MMLU Pro. Twice faster output, 3x lower latency, 2x higher rate limits as well. They bumped the rate limits as well, so you can use them for more. Filters are now opt-in, as Wolfram said, so you can decide to have the filters. Many people want them, many people don't want them. And the Gemini Flash beats the Pro from May in almost all benchmarks. I think that's a very decent release, especially with the price decrease being like 50% cheaper as well. I think this sounds like, quite honestly, quite amazing. Nistan, you had a comment? You had a hand up?
Yeah, I'm almost fully decoupled now, but I want to say that for most people, I do tell them to use that actually want to use this for like business cases or for doing consulting. I do get them to use Gemini. It's because they already have stuff in Google Drive, and you have a whole bunch of audio recordings. And yeah, it's not reliable for code. I would not copy paste code from Gemini. Sorry, guys. Maybe it will add comments and make it pretty and stuff, but it's unreliable for that. It's not going to work. I'd rather for that use DeepSeek or use Sonnet or GPT-4o. But Gemini is not. It's going to fail. And Mistral Large is actually a lot better, in my experience. But what it's amazing for was for stuff like you're doing a sales call, and you have a whole bunch of documents. You have a whole bunch of audio. You can just throw it at it. Like, it doesn't matter if it's 300 pages of stuff. You just throw it in there, and the ops of Google, the operations side, is like, I have dumped in literally 600,000 token long prompts because like I had saved an entire code base. I had done. I just taken the text, the entire text from the code base, the entire Git history, everything. I just threw it right in there, and it just started. It took 8-9 seconds and it started responding.
Yeah, time to first token is crazy. Even though you dump like 500,000 tokens in a context window, time to first token is crazy.
So in terms of a tool, like an industrial grade tool that just takes everything you throw at it and responds back, it just eats it. It's great. Google's on a whole other category in terms of that. Yeah, the model's not smarter, but in terms of operations, yeah, Google's in the lead.
Yeah,
for that, they're like by quite a margin. There's no other model that you can just throw 500,000 tokens at it if you need it, like while in a call and like get something back. It's as a tool. If you use it like that, it's on another level.
I believe
I
also,
listen,
I believe they're also like the only multimodal PDF understanding tool. So they understand PDFs with text and also understand PDF with images and kind of like in between. I don't know of other tools. I think OpenAI, if you ask it to understand PDF, will like start a code interpreter and use like PDF PY or some crazy like things like this, and it doesn't work. So
man, it's been 2 years and we still can't chat with PDF yet. Come on. Okay. All right. Yes, I think Leonard or
I think it's time for us to move and chat with Leonard. Leonard, do you want to chime in on Gemini before we move on to interview the section?
Yeah, for sure. Gemini is incredible, but I was just going to say on the PDF side, if you guys haven't played around with Pixtral yet, Pixtral is actually pretty fucking amazing as well. The way they tokenize patch by patch, it actually just generalizes incredibly well to all sorts of fine-grained documents that you might be dealing with on actual like enterprise basis or actual business use cases. Gemini, the new release is amazing as well.
Yeah, we definitely talked about Pixtral. We've had Devendra from Mistral come and chat with us before they actually released. I don't know, the thing I was trying to point out, I don't know if their UI, for example, the chat takes a PDF and then multimodally understands both the text versions of the PDF and some PDFs are like encoded images. So I think what I was trying to point out is like Gemini, the UI or like the system, I think is the only system that I know of that does both. That does like they do the right understanding of the PDF, regardless of whether or not it's a text PDF or if there's charts and images in there. But yeah, I agree with you. Pixtral is incredible in this. I do want to talk about advanced voice mode though, because we finally got it. We finally got advanced voice mode, and people have been going crazy. Now, the thing that they did with advanced voice mode is what they did before Google I/O as well. If you guys remember, Google I/O came out a day before OpenAI decided to showcase the GPT-4o in advanced voice mode. And it took, 5 months since to actually get it to the hands of everyone, but now we have it. So, folks, Nister and Wolfram, LDJ, have you guys been talking to these models, and have you finished your quota for the week? Go ahead, Wolfram.
Yeah, I used a VPN to get it because that too isn't available in Europe.
That too isn't available in Europe.
Yeah, but the VPN stuff worked, and I was very excited when I got it, but I don't want to be a negative Nancy or something, but compared to the demo, it was very much nerfed, and I was surprised how dumb it is. We all mocked Moshi because that was also multimodal, and I felt the GPT-4o in the voice mode didn't work as well as the GPT-4o when you use text mode. I would be interested if anyone else has that experience.
Same experience.
And I just wanted to say that you can get it to sing by doing something similar what the guys told us just now. If you not teach it in a new language, but redefine the word. If you tell it what you want it to sing in a different way. So you say singing is not just singing, it's a different kind, and you describe it in that way, that works. Or copyrighted characters are banned, so I got it to play a character by saying, you are not this character, you play a character like this character in a show like this show, and it did it then, when it refused before. So that is, you can redefine words and you get it to do it, so that works at least.
That's very interesting. So a few observations on my end, and I would love to hear from Nissan LDJ if you had the chance as well. I've had access to advanced voice mode a little bit before the kind of the public release. If you guys remember, Chris Gardina came here and talked, and then I also brought GPT-4 to the show as well. The model that they released now, like whatever they released, is not the same. Like I progressively saw decreasing capabilities throughout the beta that I had. And from Chris as well, the safety was harder and harder and harder. So they worked on safety a lot. There is increasing capabilities as well. So it's not only the model got like lower, there's some stuff that happened that they retrained. So first of all, memory access, this new, I didn't have this. Obviously ChatGPT has memory and they remember stuff for you. I think if you enabled it, now the advanced voice mode knows stuff about you from this memory as well. This is not something that I had access to, and that's pretty cool because now when you ask it, it knows, hey Alex, it knows your name, etc. That's really cool. You can ask it also to remember stuff. That is very much helpful to the actual conversation as well. When you can ask it to remember stuff, you weren't able to before. They also got 5 new voices. That sounds pretty cool, and it has custom instruction following. So for folks who want to do some jailbreaking, for example, the redefinition of words like Wolfram suggested you guys try, that you can add this to the custom instruction following, to the custom instruction set in ChatGPT, and now this voice will follow that as well. And already folks have gotten to sing and do other stuff. I find it ridiculous that they even decided to close the singing now. Like, why? It makes no sense. I think I have an idea why. I think because if you guys remember, they released a safety paper talking about safety, where this model would randomly clone a person's voice that talks to it and then speak back to the person in the cloned voice. They released some examples of this in the red teaming, and then they clamped it down. I think part of the kind of singing is getting to that place as well. Like this is the attack vector maybe. And yeah, it doesn't work in the EU as well. Nissan, have you been chatting with this, or are you not playing OpenAI and this didn't even convince you to even start playing?
No. Also, I saw before that like I wanted to get it just so I could talk Jamaican with the model, but now that they've nerfed it, I saw some demos. It just wasn't the same, dude. It's so disappointing when you see this product and like, this is freaking awesome, and then you start seeing it again, and it's they've lobotomized it.
Yeah, I had
That's what it is.
I definitely had a feeling that like they will get lobotomized more and more. By the time they get released to the public, it'll be like the most vanilla type thing ever. People still get excited, but what I got excited about is when Rocky got hit on by this model that says, "Hey, Rocky, you look so cool," whatever. This is the model that I wanted to see at the end. This is not what we got. What we got is a very corporate like chatbot that is basically saying nothing to you, and it's really hard to get to say some stuff. Even though folks like Leonard and Pliny the Prompter and like other folks are definitely getting the jailbreaks through this voice as well. OpenAI updates as well, some senior leadership. Yeah, go ahead before we kind of finish off with some
just wanted to say it can't even do web search, I noticed. So that is very disappointing because it's a novelty and it's cool, but is it worth $20? I don't think so. Actually.
Oh, you mean the extra tools like web search and etc. don't work? Which, by the way, they do at Meta. They do it Meta. So Meta definitely has said that their voice, even though it's not omni, so it doesn't understand emotion, it does go and like it's web enabled as well. So that's a very interesting point to bring. The other point to bring, and I think Nistan, you brought this up earlier and worth at least discussing, is what is the actual benefit of an omni model besides the fact that it can count faster and like whisper, for example? What we know from Moshi and this GPT-4 Omni, that it was trained end to end with the voice. There's not a text to speech at the end there. The model generates this as well, but on the input it also understands your audio internally with like audio tokens as well. You can whisper to it, it can whisper back. You can code switch, for example. You can speak in 3 different languages super quick, and it will do the same back to you as well. And those are not necessarily capabilities of a text-to-speech model. Those are definitely the benefits of an omni model. The other benefits of an omni model is understanding emotion. This model understands emotion, but they closed it down, they clamped it down. So this model understands if you're feeling sad, but only from the context of the text. So if you say happy things, but you sound sad, it will still think that you're talking about happy things. Because they literally clamp down on this emotion. Also, when Chris and I played with this model, I played a few sound effects. I played it the womp womp when something bad happens, the womp womp like sound effect. It understood that sound effect back then. So this model can also hear sounds, not only what you speak, and they clamped down on this as well. So for some reason, it no longer is possible, even though we know it's within the capabilities of this model to hear sounds, to understand emotion, to be emotional as well. They reduced this to basically nothing. And they reduce it to a point where what is the actual benefit on top of a pipeline? If it doesn't do all of those cool things that come as a benefit from an Omni model, what is the actual benefit of not just having just a super fast pipeline? And we know super fast pipelines exist because Meta showed it to us. And we saw it from Meta, and hopefully, not hopefully, and many people will get it for free from Meta, like coming very soon as well. So those are my super quick comments as well. It's still fun to chat with. So the utility of this, despite the fact that maybe you don't have web access, the utility of this is awesome. One of the absolute insane viral things that got on my end is that I recorded a short video of showing how to set the voice mode to get opened from this action button on the iPhone. For some reason, hundreds of thousands of people saw this tweet, whereas they barely see any other tweets they spend a lot of time thinking about. The utility of this, specifically within the iOS, is that you can actually have them on as a call. So you can walk around with your headphones, whatever. The iPhone can be off completely, and you can have a conversation with this model. And that's dope. That's really good. The additional change that they had definitely is the languages and then the accents for this model is significantly better. I've tested this model in obviously English, but also Russian and Hebrew. And when it used to talk in all these different languages, they definitely were American in their accent. So like it used to speak Hebrew with an American accent, Russian American accent, Wolfram, I'm assuming German with an American accent. They significantly improved this. The Hebrew sounds clear. Russian sounds almost non-American. It's quite impressive. So shout out to the team that worked on this. The new voices probably have something to do with this, Wolfram, like I said. Definitely upgrades in that perspective. The new voices, they do feel a little bit more native there. And the last shout out is if you have kids, they won't chat with the model. It depends on their age, obviously. This is way better of a natural interface to them with an AI. This is like by far so fun to see when it works. So shout out OpenAI for finally giving us advanced voice mode. We're very happy. And on this news of tada, we gave you something you all been waiting for, not Sora, but this Mira Murati and some other folks decided to leave OpenAI. And I find it very interesting because after this big release, they decided to leave, and Dev Day is coming up soon. So Dev Day from OpenAI is going to be October 1st, next Tuesday. I'm going to be there. We're going to do a live coverage of Dev Day like we did last time. And we're gonna bring you Dev Day live. I don't know to what extent. Last time was crazy. We had like a 7-hour space, but definitely we will bring you coverage from Dev Day from next week as well. And yeah, I think that's most of what we can cover today because we're almost way past hours. I just do want to talk about the hardware. And if you guys will stick with me, I think it's important to at least mention that all of these models that Meta released, the highlight of them, they focused on device stuff. In addition to the Meta releases, they also talked about the new Horizon Metaverse thing. They talked about Meta Quest, the new Meta Quest S. Excuse me, a $200 device, $300. I don't exactly remember. I think it's $299.
$299.
Yeah, $299, but significantly cheaper than the previous one. So many folks will start this as well. But then they talked about the Meta Ray-Bans and the crazy Orion holographic glasses. So let's start with Meta Ray-Bans. Basically, Zuck came out and said, hey, we're doing all these things in AI. Here's Meta, etc., blah, blah, blah. We're also productizing this. We're productizing this in our Instagram and WhatsApp, everywhere. So Meta AI, you can use it now, and now it's going to talk to you. Now it's multimodal as well, so you can show it stuff. It will answer. Like, they're improving the capabilities significantly. And then he said, basically, he thinks that the best hardware form factor for this is glasses. Something you wear on your face, it doesn't obscure you from the real world. You don't pull up your phone, etc. He believes that this is like the next computing platform. And in this belief, there's a range of things that they've introduced. So obviously they had the Meta Ray-Bans from before. The Meta Ray-Bans is basically their like hardware AI carrier basically for their product. So the product line includes Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook, etc. The Meta agent in there, but also their line is Ray-Bans. You can talk to this agent, MultiModal, and it will understand what, and it will reply to you. And that's internet enabled. You can ask it to go and search stuff for you as well. I found it pretty cool. I also bought a pair of glasses finally. I got convinced. I was sitting there. I finally decided, hey, I cannot be an AI evangelist without walking around with like super cool AI glasses enabled with image as well. So I'll tell you all about when I get them next week, I believe. But then somebody came out with a case, with like a steel case, one of those nuclear football type things. It was actually very funny. And then opened it, and then Zach showed a pair of glasses that are thick, but they look like glasses, and they call them Orion. And those are what they say is the most advanced piece of tech, whatever, in this form factor. And that was insane. That was an absolutely insane moment. I think I think people maybe skipped it of just how insane this was. Because basically they took down just an insane amount of technology, whatever Vision Pro has, and just like changed the type of displays on the display, the number of cameras on there, the battery, the form factor, and all of it is also powered by AI as well. There's a bunch of AI features in there, but not only that, they have a neural control mechanism that's like a band on your wrist that does, I believe, EMG or something like this, where it understands the signal in your muscles, in your forearm to control this device. So you can scroll and you can do different gestures like this. You can point and tap. Everything that Vision Pro does with image processing, with computer vision, they now do with different approaches as well. And they claim that this is going further and further into the land of understanding what you want without you having to move any fingers as well, which we know that are possible. You can speak to it. You can point. It has eye tracking and hand tracking. It's basically everything that's possible from this device. It's basically a device that Apple should have built and to just showcase this device. I found it absolutely bonkers of how much quality they showed there. And they said that basically this is not a consumer device. It cost them way, way more than like even makes sense. I don't know if each piece costs like $15,000 or so. They said they built maybe like 1,000 or a couple of thousands of these devices for testing and dev kit, but just absolutely mind blown by the level of what's possible and the fact that Meta shipped it. I wanted to hear folks here on stage comments. Wolfram, you definitely saw this as well. Give us your comment on this new era of computing.
Yeah, I've been waiting a long time for that because I've been in VR and AR before AI for about 10 years. So that was my big thing before AI turned it around. And yeah, I've always been a fan of the glasses factor. There have been a lot of AI devices recently, the amulets and rings and stuff what is there. But the glasses are probably the best because you have a camera, so you see, and the AI sees, but you have the audio next to your ear, so you can use it in public without everybody hearing it. You don't have to pull something out of your pocket and hold it in front of your face. It's just the perfect form factor, I think. And I think that is the next device generation. And holo glasses, that's a new technology. It will be expensive. This was just a prototype they showed. But Meta has done it for VR, made it more affordable and more widely available. And I hope they will do it with those devices as well. And the Ray-Bans, I was already considering getting one. And the new limited edition that they showed, you can look through the case, see the inside. That is also very interesting. So yeah, and it's getting to a point where the smaller models make sense. So you can put it on the glasses and use it without having to wait. It's great. I'm a big fan of this kind of development.
100%. The clear ones, the limited edition clear ones, those are the one that I got as well. I was sitting there, I was like, it's time that I walk around with AI on my face. It's time. We know that Llama 3.2, etc., is going to be there. We know it's smaller. That's soon going to run on device. It doesn't now. It still relies on the Bluetooth connection to your phone. It still runs in the cloud, I believe. But they're going there for sure. The new Orion thing that has the custom silicon as well definitely has like a place to run devices, models. They keep getting smaller and better. So all these devices will run AI on them. So the convergence will I'm like you. I have all the VR headsets and XR is very exciting to me. I still travel with my Vision Pro. I think that the convergence is happening. You could see this at Meta Connect. Meta was like, the company was changed its name into Meta because of the metaverse, and XR is like something they pursued for 10 years. They said that Orion is a combination of 10 years of work in trying to distill down those things and still not released. But still, those are getting more and more converging, because obviously one of the ways to run this device is with AI. One of the ways to analyze the world that you're seeing is also with AI. And so I think the convergence happened. You saw this in MetaConnect, because the pre-event before MetaConnect was about AI. It wasn't about Metaverse. The pre-event that I went to, at least, was about Llama. Go ahead, Wolfram.
Yeah, just one thing. That is what the vision of Mark Zuckerberg is. He wants not to have another app on a mobile device. He wants to have a completely new class of devices. That's why he went into VR, and that is what he's doing with AR as well. Because on the mobile, so you have Google, you have Apple, but Meta wants something of their own.
Yep.
For very good reasons, of course. So that is where the focus is and where it's going.
I think the fact that they missed with the Android stuff, there were talks about them maybe releasing their phone and the cloud revolution. Now they're like beholden to Apple as well. I think that's very interesting. These glasses will also work with what, like Apple Vision Pro with the Max. These glasses will also show you like screens, etc. So it's going to be a product work. It's definitely a new hardware category that they're assuming or hoping to move into a new compute platform. And so that's very exciting. And we're here not to only give you AI news, because this is also AI related, but also everything that like this mind blowing. So definitely worth checking out. If you haven't seen those videos, I'll probably be talking more about them. And hopefully we'll bring some folks from Meta next week to also chat with us. Other than that, this has been a crazy week, and we're barely able to cover all of this, but we also had some interviews as well. I just wanted to say thanks, Wolfram. Thanks, Nissan, for joining. Thanks, everybody else, for tuning in, listening, commenting, sharing, and enjoying and asking questions as well. Unfortunately, we didn't get to all the questions, but we get to some. I hope you enjoyed the conversation we had with Leonard and conversation we had with Meor about the course. I hope you take the course. The course was awesome. Shout out to Weights and Biases for giving you courses for free and for paying for me to actually do this as well. And with that, I think I'll tell you, have a great week. And we got, one last thing, breaking news. We did have some small breaking news. Notebook LM is now supporting YouTube videos. So whatever Nissan started with, let's finish on this. Notebook LM, the thing that generates podcasts as well, they just shipped a feature where you can dump a YouTube link and will generate this podcast from a YouTube link as well. So if you have a lecture of Karpathy's 2 hours, you can dumb it down into a podcast form. But please don't listen to those podcasts too much. Listen to us as well. Every week we're here, ThursdAI. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Cheers, everyone. By the way, if you're in Seattle today, AI Thinkers Today in Seattle is sponsored by Weights and Biases. I'm going to be there. If you're listening to this and you're Seattle folks, I'll see you there today. That was it. Thank you, everyone. Cheers, and we'll see you next week. Bye.